Good morning. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and I'm joined here today by Comptroller of the City of New York, Scott Stringer, our Public Advocate, Letitia James, State Assembly Member Jeffrey Dinowitz, City Council Member Rafael Espinal, New York City Consumer Affairs Commissioner Julie Menon, and Bobby Chase Wilding, the Deputy Director of Clean and Healthy New York. We are 2 days away from the unofficial start of the shopping season. And of course, the holidays are joyful occasions filled with celebrations and, of course, gift giving. Unfortunately, every year we see unscrupulous scammers trying to exploit the season of giving to make a quick buck, and we see people who are willing to behave in an extraordinarily irresponsible way. We see popular toys and other gifts that come with hidden and concealed risks, including toxic chemicals. My commitment as your Attorney General is to fight to protect every New Yorker, and that is why I'm announcing that my office has sent letters to every major retailer across the state, including Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, JCPenney, and Macy's, reminding them of their obligation under state and federal law to ensure that the products they market to children are safe. We're also offering tips to ensure that as New Yorkers start hitting the stores, parents are empowered with the tools to keep their kids safe. No parent should have to fear for their child's safety when they buy stores at a legitimate business. Just because a product is on the shelf does not mean that it's safe. So this season, my colleagues and I are uniting in a concerted effort to ensure that popular toys sold in legitimate retailers are safe for all of our children. We know from some reports, one that will be spoken about later in this press conference, some reports have demonstrated that popular toys are manufactured with high level of dangerous materials. Bobby will speak about the Albany area investigation that very recently, just in the last 2 months, reported that retailers in New York are selling toys, costume jewelry, trinkets, and other products intended for children that contain toxic elements like lead, mercury, antimony, cadmium, chromium, and arsenic. These chemicals are found in toys as well as in children's jewelry, where they're very prominent, hair clips, and other products. Children can ingest chemicals from toys either by chewing or sucking on them, some cases just by touching them and putting their hands in their mouths. Now, anyone who's ever raised a child knows that they go through a period of time when everything they interact with goes in their mouths. Many of you probably remember challenging visits to the beach during that period of time. But in this case, it can do real harm. The chemicals are known to cause a variety of very, very serious problems, including cancer, liver damage, and cognitive impairment. Young children are particularly susceptible to these problems. So my office has sent a letter to retailers across the state reminding them of their responsibility under state and federal law to ensure that children's products are safe. The Consumer Product Safety Commission of the federal government has imposed requirements. Manufacturers and importers have an obligation to test and prepare a report, a certificate, actually, certifying that their products comply with federal safety standards, including rules related to toxic chemicals. We're going to follow up to make sure that the retailers in New York State are ensuring that all standards are met with the toys they sell. We're putting retailers on notice with this letter that they must ensure that those laws are complied with and that all federal and state standards are being met. We also remind retailers in our letter that under New York's general business law, selling products intended for use by children that by their design or method of manufacture create an unreasonable risk of injury or illness is prohibited. My office is going to be watching very closely, working with our colleagues in government, working with the City Department of Consumer Affairs and others to ensure that retailers and their suppliers meet their obligations to ensure the safety of the products they sell to our children. And ladies and gentlemen, there are also steps that our parents can take. And we're urging all New Yorkers to look at some very, very simple tips that will help you avoid bad products. There are toys here that were provided that all contain toxic material like arsenic, mercury, and lead. They look completely innocent, and it's uneasy to understand why someone might pick one up at a store and not have any idea that these products contain dangerous chemicals. When you're shopping for something, and this I found to be a very useful advice when dealing with small products, particularly jewelry, if something metallic, and I have one here, is a charm bracelet, and it feels very heavy for its size. This is the ever-popular vampire skull bracelet that children are requesting often these days. But this, you can just feel how heavy it is. If something is this small and this heavy, that's usually an indicator that it contains lead. So that's a very simple way to be careful to protect your children, and you can buy them a clean and non-toxic vampire skull bracelet. So these are some red flags that people can use. Check for product recalls. If you have a smartphone, there are apps that can tell you if a product has been subject to a recall. It's a very easy way to make sure that you're protected. I also want to just say a few words about common scams that retailers used and others used during the holidays. And please be careful, especially with the growth of internet commerce. You want to protect yourself from identity theft. You don't want to transmit credit card information over public Wi-Fi networks or home networks that are not password protected. Look for HTTPS at the beginning of an address if you're paying online, because the S means that your sensitive data will be encrypted for your protection. HTTP doesn't cut it if you're sending out this kind of personal financial information. Also, credit cards are safer to use online than debit cards, because a debit card can imperil your entire bank balance if it's stolen. So here are some other tips for what you can do. It's very important that to note that scammers often use fake promotional emails that look like they are from major companies to try and steal your data. If you're going to look for a product online, make sure you're going to a legitimate website. It's worth scrolling down and making sure that it's the official website. There are a lot of folks who end up going to what they believe to be a legitimate retailer and end up getting their money stolen and sometimes their identity stolen. So there are risks associated with holiday shopping that we want to make sure we start the season making New Yorkers aware of. There are risks associated with gift cards, which are very popular, but make sure you understand the fees before you buy them. The best thing to do is to understand that state and federal law is set up to protect you, but it can only protect you if you are an alert consumer and if you report problems to the proper authorities. If you have any questions about these issues, if you have any questions about donating to a charity for the holidays, you can always go to our OAG website and check. We have different panels that tell you different information. Certainly we regulate nonprofits, and that's a great step to take before you ever make a donation. But we want to make sure that all of our colleagues are here today to tell you that all of our offices and the legislative bodies that are represented here are attentive to this. We're looking at legislative fixes, but in the next 30 days, New Yorkers need to be alert and need to use these tips to protect themselves. So let me just say a few words for our Spanish-speaking audience. En esta época de fiestas, debemos tener cuidados con los juguetes que compramos a nuestros niños. Hay juguetes que vienen con problemas ocultos. Mi oficina ha enviado una carta a tiendas en todo el estado. Las tiendas tienen la obligación legal y moral de proteger la seguridad de los niños en la venta de juguetes. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to a great colleague in government and someone whose office is watching out for New Yorkers every day, Controller Scott Stringer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm happy to join with Attorney General Schneiderman and others here this morning to remind retailers that safety trumps everything else when it comes to toys for our children. And I do want to thank the Attorney General for getting the message out there during the holiday season. For me, this is especially poignant because as a father of a 3-year-old boy and an 18-month-old boy, I can now attest to the fact that there's no greater joy for a child than walking into a toy store and grabbing every single toy with the hope that they will acquire it. And so as a parent, you follow them down the aisle, making sure that that toy is for age-appropriate children. So if it's 3+, you buy it. If it's under 1, if it's over 5, you don't buy it. And the bottom line is parents are constantly being vigilant so a child doesn't put anything in their mouth that could cause them to choke. What's significant here is that there's things that we can't see, that some of these toys are actually toxic and can cause real problems for your child. And that's something we can't see. So what the Attorney General is doing is putting retailers on notice that we will not accept toys coming into the marketplace that can cause serious harm for our children. We want our kids to be safe. We need strong laws to make sure that retailers are held accountable as well as manufacturers. But the bottom line during the holiday season is we need to abide and understand the Attorney General's warnings. We need to work with him both locally and statewide. And I just want to promise Attorney General Schneiderman that our office, through our audit and investigation component of what we do, we will be working collaboratively with the Attorney General and other city agencies to make sure our children are safe during the holiday season. So as a dad, Attorney General, I want to thank you. And as Controller, I want to ensure you that our office is ready to work with you both here and in Albany. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Controller. And now the advocate's advocate, our public advocate, Tish James.
Thank you, Attorney General
And
Antolo.
alum of our office.
My office was right down the hall. So let me thank the Attorney General and all my colleagues who are here today. So this is the holiday season, and there is usually an increase in scams on the internet, and they primarily target seniors. There's a significant increase of individuals targeting immigrants, and there's a significant individuals who are just focusing on individuals with a high volume of internet emails. Most recently in my office, someone received a call from a relative, and they had sent the relative had sent someone on the internet $300 because they received a bogus email indicating that this individual was in Honduras, they were on vacation, and that they needed money to return, that they had lost their wallet in Honduras. I've heard that story over and over and over again. And so it's really critically important that individuals, again, be cognizant of all of these scammers that currently exist and that are out there to also have a very good holiday at your expense. And let me also say that the use of inexpensive and dangerous materials in children's toys is far too common. And let me say that there are a number of 99-cent stores all throughout this city where low-income residents, primarily with children, shop during the holiday season. And most of the toys are totally dangerous toys, and a lot of them contain lead. And it's really problematic because all of these retailers are located in low-income communities all throughout the city of New York. And a lot of the retailers are totally unaware that they are carrying these dangerous items. Every year, we hear of stories about children being exposed to chemicals and getting sick. And what we must do everything in our power to warn retailers and parents about the dangers, most notably about all of the chemicals. Parents need to keep an eye out for metal toys in particular, which can be made of hazardous chemicals, heavy metals that are incredibly dangerous. And as was indicated, children and small babies, as they shop and as they go through these stores and as they open up their gifts during this holiday period, accidentally ingest a lot of these chemicals. And parents must keep their eye on the child and make sure that they are not swallowing a lot of the small parts that come with these toys. As city and state officials, we have a responsibility to protect and alert consumers about the dangers of toxic toys. And as someone who is all too familiar with Section 63 of the Business Code, a lot of individuals are engaging in unfair business practices. And I know working with the Attorney General, we will focus on those businesses that engage in a pattern and practice of focusing taking advantage of individuals, primarily immigrants, seniors, and other individuals who unfortunately fall victim to a lot of these scams. And so I applaud Attorney General Eric Schneiderman for his work on these issues and for his work on consumer safety. And working together, we can help remove from the store shelves and protect countless children in New York State. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a colleague who I've worked with many times on many issues, a great advocate for consumer protection, Assemblymember Jeff Dinowitz.
Thank you, and I want to thank Attorney General Schneiderman for his work here. This is so important. As chair of the Assembly Committee on Consumer Affairs and Protection, we have tried to address a number of these issues. And, you know, in recent years, there has been a significant increase in problems that children have, of cognitive issues, learning disabilities, cancer rates. Is there any question Is there any doubt that anybody has that these increases are directly related to chemicals that they come into contact with? And much of those chemicals are from toys. Last year, we passed legislation which was signed into law banning the sale of novelty lighters in New York State. Novelty lighters, cigarette lighters that look like a telephone or something else that are attractive to kids because they're very dangerous. But in terms of dealing with some of the chemicals, we've had a mixed rate of success. And in the legislature, there's been disagreement over issues relating to cadmium, for example, because the two houses have had separate bills. It's time that we have a partner in the other house that is willing to pass tough laws to supplement what we already have if we want to protect our children. That is one of the things we should be doing. And you don't have to be anti-business to be pro-children, to be pro-good health in children. And that's something that we need to focus on in the coming year. I know it's something our committee will continue to work on, and I do hope we have partners. And on the other side are the scams that we deal with every year. We do associate this holiday, Thanksgiving, with turkeys, but the fact is there are a lot of vultures out there who prey on people who are weak, people who are seniors, immigrants, other groups within our population. I can tell you that we get so many people coming into our office, particularly this time of the year, because some of these scams that they fall victims to don't seem like scams. That's why they're scams. They're successful because some of them just seem so natural to people. And the fact is, despite all the laws that we have passed in recent years, there's a lot more to do. And one thing I know that's going on is that this office, the Attorney General's office, has been very good in enforcing the laws that we have, but it's up to us in the legislature to strengthen those laws as well. So I look forward to working in the coming session with our committee and with our colleagues in the other house to try to protect kids and to protect everybody who falls victims to scams.
Thank you very much. And now another colleague who's focused in on these issues and doing great work, City Council Member Rafael Espinal.
I'd like to thank the Attorney General Eric Schneiderman for all his hard work on this issue. As the chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, protecting consumers in New York City is a priority of mine. Though we work to protect children from harmful toys year-round, it's most important now that we approach the holiday season. I can tell you from experience growing up in a low-income immigrant community that most of the toys children in those communities receive come from packaging like these. So we must make sure that they are aware of the dangers and the harmful effects that can happen to their children. So again, I want to thank my colleagues for standing behind this issue, and thank you, Attorney General, for taking the lead and advocating for the families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now a longtime colleague in various capacities, someone who's going to surely be a great commissioner, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Julie Menon.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank the Attorney General for his outstanding leadership on this issue and the very close partnership that the Department of Consumer Affairs has with the Attorney General's office, and I want to thank my colleagues in government who are here today. This week kicks off the busiest shopping week throughout the year, and as a mother of 3 young boys, the issue of toxic toys is something that is deeply personal to me. We must all remember that children are more vulnerable to harmful substances in the products they use than adults are. Although the federal government restricts the use of 14 chemicals found in toys, unfortunately there are around 85,000 industrial chemicals in use, and in many cases scant information on their effects. Today I sent a letter to the Toy Industry Association, whose members account for around 85% of the annual domestic toy market. The letter asks for 3 things. We are urging the association and its members to ban toxic chemicals in all products made or sold by TIA members. We are asking them to pull all toys with suspected toxic chemicals off the shelf. We are asking them to cease efforts to oppose legislation that would keep toxic toys off the markets. And we're also advising the Toy Association to remember that under New York City's public safety law, which we at DCA enforce, it is illegal to sell any toy firearm that looks like a real firearm unless the toy is brightly colored. We've also, as the Attorney General has, issued a number of tips which are on our website, nyc.gov/consumers. So in the interest of time, I won't go through them, but we are delighted to support the Attorney General's efforts in this regard to make sure that New York City consumers are kept safe during the holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Bobby Chase Wilding, the Deputy Director for Clean and Healthy New York. Clean and Healthy New York is the organization that working with the League of Conservation Voters has produced the recent report that I mentioned about purchases in Albany County, a survey of toys, and they provided us with these toys here. So very, very important allies in this effort. Bobby.
Thank you, Attorney General Schneiderman. I am Bobby Chase Wilding. I'm the Deputy Director for Clean and Healthy New York. We're a statewide environmental health advocacy organization, and we've been looking at the issue of toxics in products, and particularly in children's products, for the length of our 8-year existence. I'm also the mom of 2 young girls, and as so many of other folks have said, there's a very personal interest in making sure that toxic chemicals are out of children's products, as well as my professional interest. I really wish I didn't have to be here today. Back in 2007 and 2008, when there was a huge scandal about all of the lead showing up in children's products, it seemed like we could hope that retailers and manufacturers would get the real message, but they haven't. And the real message is this, the full message is this: parents don't want toxic chemicals in children's products, period. Regardless of what chemicals are covered by law, frankly, if chemicals cause harm, they shouldn't be in children's products. So what we did was look at products that were on store shelves in New York State, and particularly in Albany County, but quite frankly, we could come down here, buy products off the store shelves in New York City, and we would find the same problems. For example, we found this set of jewelry parts that you can make for yourself. So each of these charms is separate. One of these charms contains almost 25% lead. Nearly a quarter of the charm itself, is cadmium, which can cause a number of health problems, including early puberty, kidney damage, motor skill damage, and disrupt how children behave. How is it that in 2014, parents still can't count on retailers to sell only non-toxic products? We applaud Attorney General Schneiderman, my goodness, Attorney General Schneiderman for his action to remind retailers of their duty and legal obligation to be responsible for the products that they sell. It's also clear that we need stronger laws. After I leave here today, I'll be going up to testify at a public hearing held by Albany County Legislature, where they are considering a bill that would outright ban the heavy metals that we found in these products. When we released this report, we highlighted just 12 items. The good news is that we tested a bunch more that did not contain heavy metals. So clearly, product makers can make safe toys. And really, the message is all toys need to be safe and non-toxic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thank you for your good work. And the last point is a very important point. We are committed in this office, and I know my colleagues here are committed to enforcing the existing laws. The existing laws do provide a lot of protection, but they're only as good as your willingness as parents to take that extra step to look and check and make sure that the toys are safe. We also are supportive of efforts at the state level. Assemblyman Dinowitz and others are working to pass better laws to protect us even more. But during this shopping season, just be careful. Just because it's on the shelf does not mean it's safe for your child. So with that, we'll be happy to take questions. Andrew will.
Yeah, hi, Peter Hudson, CBS Radio. You talk about the letter that he sent out. Is that merely a warning, or is there something specific about?
Well, it was prompted by the fact that we've become aware and our work with Clean and Healthy New York and with our other colleagues in government, with the committees that are looking at this at the City Council and the state legislature, we're aware of the fact that as we approach the season, there's still a lot of these products available. And as the public advocate pointed out, very often in poor communities, in poorer stores, and we're trying to ensure that they are safe. So what we've done is we've sent an initial letter to retailers all across the state, including the biggest players in the toy business, reminding them of their obligation under state and federal law to keep these products off the shelves. The next step is follow-up to show them that we're checking and we're demanding that they check with the manufacturers and the importers. So we're working our way using the existing laws to first remind the retailers they have obligations, that I have the power to enforce, that we've been, and we provide them with information about some toy companies and stores that we've gone after in the past. We're watching them this season. We're urging the public to report it when they find toys that contain dangerous products, and we're urging all of our colleagues who work in government to remember that we do have the power under the general business law. We do have the power, and they have the obligation under both federal and state law to comply. And we can give you a copy of the letter. Happy to do it. It's something that serves as the initial warning that we are watching you, and we'll take further steps between now and the end of the holiday season in this area.
All these toys, have you ordered them removed from store shelves, or have you been recalling anyone?
Well, these toys were purchased in Albany County, and we know the retailers and are following up to ensure that they're off the shelves.
But they could appear elsewhere, so is there any movement towards recalling them? Where does it stand that way? What if I found one in the city today?
Yeah, the problem is that recalls take a long time. A lot of these are produced by companies that are sort of fly-by-night operations, or in many, many cases imported. This legal structure, which is not a bad structure considering how many imported toys you get, is that manufacturers and importers have legal obligations to ensure that these are all these toys are safe for children. We are moving that up a level with our letter, saying, okay, retailers, we're going to look at you to make sure that you are ensuring that the manufacturers and importers you're dealing with are meeting those obligations. So the toys are scattered around all over the place. It's very tough to get recalls in a timely and effective fashion for things like dollar stores, but we're dealing with these problems as they arise and dealing with them specifically. The most important step we can take, though, is to get the retailers themselves and the manufacturers and importers to take responsibility for keeping toys safe.
You said Raleigh, Florida. Could Bobby just explain what Raleigh is one of these toys?
I mean,
Sure. So there are sometimes multiple things wrong. Yep. So sometimes there are more than one thing wrong with each product. And so basically, this product, which is
you can
from
show
this
them the
box,
report.
Angels and Charms. Angels.
Yeah, and this is the report, which they can make available to you, so you can see it does list what's wrong with each product. I don't want to. We're
Yeah,
not going to
it
have to go
does.
through each one of them
But-
right now, but
More or less what's wrong with them, toxic chemicals or what?
Each one of these products contains heavy metals like antimony, cobalt, lead, mercury, and in this case, cadmium, and also lead in the pink beads. So all of these contain heavy metals, and all of these would be banned under the proposed Albany County legislation and a pending bill at the state level. Unfortunately, right now, not all of the heavy metals have been banned by law, which means that the Attorney General doesn't have as much power as he needs to truly keep our kids safe, which is why further action is needed by the legislature.
But I would commend to you the report that Bobby's organization has put out that does provide the details for each of these products.
Off the toys and to charities, what suggestions do you make to people on how they check which they look for?
So my office, the Office of the Attorney General, we're the primary regulator of charities in New York State. We have issued tips. If you go to our OAG website, there are some simple guidelines to follow. First and foremost, do not make a contribution based on emotion. You got to use your head as well as your heart. Anyone who calls you a telemarketer for a group you've never given to before, do not make a contribution. You get an email from a group you've never contributed to before, you don't know of, do not make a contribution. If you care about a cause, take the time to go online and find out what legitimate organizations are out there. We find that, particularly with telemarketing, a lot of the money can be going to the telemarketing company rather than the charity itself. So our first and most important tip is to take the time to do that. Also, check to see that it's a legitimate charity. We put out reports every year, and they're posted on our website, telling people which are the most effective charities in various areas, which ones take 80% of the funds they raise for overhead, which ones actually pass the money along and provide services. We've been very, very engaged in rewriting the laws related to nonprofits, more engaged in working with the nonprofit sector to weed out the bad actors. The most important thing right now is act with your head as well as your heart. Do not ever respond immediately to a request, whether it comes by phone or by the internet or by someone going door to door. Take the time to check out a charity, find out if it's legitimate. It's not hard to do. Go to the OAG website and you can find out.
If I just ask you about charity names, sometimes they sound familiar, but they might not be.
Very important. Again, a reason not to immediately give. if someone solicits money for charity, ask them to provide you some information in writing. If they refuse to provide it in writing, it's not a legitimate charity. Very simple ways to test this. Just take the moment, go online and check, and you're absolutely right. There are companies that buy the URL that's very close. They're the internet identification name for a charity that's very, very similar. Take the time to check and make sure you're giving money to a legitimate organization, you're giving money for the cause you think you are donating to.
Back to the toys, just for a second. Are any of these in violation of federal law, CPSC law, other than the lead, which I believe is lead? But, could you reflect on that?
Yes. Now, I personally have not gone through toy by toy, but yes, there are a
I
variety.
mean, the 5 heavy metals that
Yes,
we were talking
yes,
about.
that are banned. Yes, there are toys here that the manufacturers who are required to certify, or importers who are required to certify that the toys don't contain those chemicals. That's where the legal enforcement is now. By our letters that have gone out today, we're trying to get the retailers, and we will move ahead to force them, if they're not going to do this willingly, to ensure that those laws are being complied with. So that's really what's going on today. For this Christmas season, this shopping season, the toys have left the manufacturers, have left the importers. They're in the stores. So we realize that we have to move one step further. While we try to pass better federal and state legislation, we are now trying to take the existing framework and put the burden on the retailers to ensure that the shelves contain nothing but safe products.
Unless there are any off topics? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
All right, great work.
Mr.